Hey there, fellas. Now, I got a quick question for you. Ever wondered what life was like when your great-grandparents are alive? Whether your great-grandma dressed up as a flapper, or if your great-grandpa had an automobile? Well, if you do I have a surprise for you? With the help of that machine right there. Are photos of your ancestors not enough for you to figure out how they lived? If so, the easiest solution is Back to the Past 3000. With this invention, you'll have everything you need to know what happened in every time period. But that's not all. With this limited time offer, you can get a vacation to one of the most lively time periods in U.S. history, the Jazz Age. Woo. To introduce us to this time period, please give a warm welcome to Professor Merchant.
Hello everyone, thank you for inviting me to give you a brief overview of the Roaring Twenties. To start off, let me set the scene on daily life during this time period. The Great War has just ended, and the Bolsheviks have taken over Russia. The Bolshevik Revolution led to the Red Scare, which was a period of intense anti-communism, where Americans everywhere were fearing for their lives. People jumped to conclusions that the Bolsheviks were responsible for the troubles everywhere.
Thanks for enlightening us about the aftermath of World War I. I've heard some things about the Ku Klux Klan. Care to enlighten us about this group and its origin?
Well, the Ku Klux Klan was a prominent racist cult that believed in white supremacy and consisted of white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. However, their pursuits made for interesting events. To talk about this topic more in depth, I'd like to video call a Jazz Age traveler and an acquaintance of mine, Miss Louie Hollis.
To talk to her, let's look on the big screen where her video call is being projected.
Hi there, everybody. I'm talking to you live from the Ku Klux Klan rally in Washington, D.C. Things are interesting here with 4 million white-hooded members of the KKK walking to display their hatred of anybody who is not native to American Protestant.
Wowza, that's a lot of people. Well, we'll leave you to it. As you can see, folks, the KKK is just one cultural attraction in the wonderful 20s. Stick around to see what else you can experience in this age of wonderful nonsense.
Thanks to the 18th Amendment, the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcohol was made illegal. But don't worry, here is an easy step-by-step DIY alcohol recipe. First, harvest the barley. Second, malt the barley. Soak the malted barley to release the malt sugars. Then, boil the malt sugar solution. Allow the solution to cool, add yeast, and ferment. Pour it all in a bottle and enjoy your homemade beer.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Before we left, Professor Merchant was educating us on the heavy topics of racism and anti-communism in the 20s. But on to lighter topics. Let's talk to another returning traveler who is a good friend of Professor Merchant, Miss Jessica Grace Sam.
Thanks so much for having me. First, I want to say how life-changing this trip was. I got to learn so much from this insane journey through this FaceTime continuum. The 20s were the perfect time for my visit, and life in that time period became so much more clear to me.
Well, that's nice to hear. It's always great to hear good feedback for our vacation package. What were some highlights of your trip?
Honestly, it was so hard to choose. I loved everything about it, but if I had to choose one thing, I'd definitely say that the speakeasy visit and the lesson on alcohol was the most interesting. No wonder my great-grandpa didn't even drink even after Prohibition.
Really now? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I visited a speakeasy and learned about alcohol. As you know, this was the time of the Prohibition era. With the ratification of the 18th Amendment, the sale and transportation of alcohol was banned. I never knew about the specific details of this era in history until I visited a speakeasy. I gained a lot of insight on this issue.
Good thing you didn't run into any gangs. They were extremely popular in the 20s, and one major gang leader was Al Capone.
Well, another interesting new idea in the 20s was the introduction of credit. Buy now, pay later. Instead of having to give money immediately, many shops allowed you to pay the amount that you were due later. This increased the consumption of new appliances, such as refrigerators and vacuums. I actually got a toaster back then, but I guess I won't have to pay it back anymore since I'm not there anymore.
Thanks for telling us about your experience. We'll be back after this short commercial break.
Do you not have enough money to buy the luxuries that you want? Well, don't worry. Credit is here. Buy whatever you want now, but pay later. But remember, you have to pay for the stuff that you purchase, just at a later time.
And we're back, folks. We just discussed the innovation of credit during the Jazz Age. We're calling Miss Louie Hollis back to talk about the mass consumption economy during the 20s.
Hey, I'm back again. This time I'm at Yankee Stadium watching a baseball game. Oh, look! Babe Ruth is batting!
Wow, I would love to watch a good old Yankees game. Too bad I don't have a Model T so I can drive myself to a stadium. Tell me, Miss Louie Hollis, have you taken a drive in one of these neat Ford automobiles?
Not yet, but I'll get on it. Thanks for talking to me, but the game's getting started now. I'll talk to you later.
Alright, enjoy the game. Folks, let me introduce you to someone who has taken a ride in the automobile. Put your hands together for Zaina!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me here to discuss my experience in discovering the beginnings of automobiles.
Please take a seat.
When I visited Detroit, I saw the Ford factory opened by Henry Ford. He made the automobile available to all middle-class citizens. And thanks to the Back to the Past company, I was able to run one and feel what it really feels like to have your own independence to go wherever you want. Especially for us women, we understand how it feels like to be discriminated against. It was so liberating to see women being empowered to do whatever they wanted and have independence to do what they wanted. Plus, women were able to express themselves through the flapper movement. They were able to dress up and have independence to go out and have fun. I think I saw my great-grandma at one of those nightclubs.
I wouldn't want to be part of that awkward interaction. Flappers was just one of the many topics of conversation and controversy in the 1920s. Automobiles and short dresses added to the freedom that women got, in addition to the 19th Amendment.
Yes, indeed. The 1920s was definitely the age of improvements and breakthroughs for transportation. Along with the Model T and ground transportation, there was also the advancement of air travel via the airplane. It all started when Wilbur and Orville Wright created a plane that stayed 120 feet in the air for 12 seconds.
That's fascinating. Were you able to catch any flights during your visit?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch a flight. Actually, flights were mainly used for mail. Only some daredevils were courageous enough to venture out into the uncharted territory of aviation. One example is Charles A. Lindbergh. He was an aviator who was the first person to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh yeah, lucky Lindy. 33 hours and he still made it to Paris. Legendary. Keep watching to learn more about the 20s.
Do you love traveling but hate carriages? Want an easier way to travel? Purchase an affordable means of transportation, the Model T. It's easy, breezy, and almost free. Thanks to its low prices and installment buying plan, this car is available to everyone, even your average Joe.
Welcome back, folks. Before we left, we were talking about the importance of automobiles in the lives of Americans, especially women. Speaking of new inventions, let's call Miss Grace Sam back to talk to us about the radio revolution.
Hi, everybody. While I was in the 20s, I spent time with the family and learned about their lifestyle. One significant aspect on the way that they lived was the radio. Unlike the automobile, which brought people out of their home, the radio brought people together inside their homes. During dinner and in the evenings, the whole family would gather together and listen to daily comedy shows and international news. I even got to listen to the 1920s election. Spoiler alert, Harding won.
Aw man, I was really hoping to find that out myself. No worries, I'm glad you had a great time thanks to our vacation package. In fact, Miss Louie Hollis was talking about how the radio helped her know about Babe Ruth and Jack Dempsey. The radio also helped make musicals and symphonies more popular.
Speaking of music, let's talk about the most awaited part of this vacation, jazz.
Oh yes, jazzisthebomb.com.
Yes, it is. And to talk about it, I'd like to invite my good friend, Zainab.
Hi everybody, I'm back. Now let's talk about jazz. Jazz was a new form of music that involved improvisation and really feeling the rhythm. In fact, the first sound movie, The Jazz Singer, was about a white man who wanted to become a jazz performer. In order to fulfill his dream, he committed blackface, and then he began to sing and dance the way he wanted.
Wow, that's so interesting. When I was in the 20s, I went to a Louis Armstrong concert, and it was amazing. He had people standing up for him and demanding encores even before he was finished. And speaking of movies, Hollywood became a huge money-making franchise. It had actors making more than politicians. People in the 1920s were really dying to get their entertainment. And interestingly, most of the entertainment in the jazz age was sexualized to appeal to the audience.
All right, Miss Grace Sam, we get it. Sex sells.
But Hollywood wasn't the only place where creativity shone. Harlem in New York was the birthplace of so many emerging artists such as Langston Hughes and radical politicians such as Marcus Garvey. Garvey helped fuel racial pride in blacks that lived in Harlem through the creation of the United Negro Improvement Association. His goal was to resettle blacks back to Africa and make sure that black money got into black pockets. Although he was deported and his plan didn't work, many African Americans ended up feeling like they could be upstanding members of their community.
Oh yeah, we love a racially empowering leader. Did you meet any other authors of the time period? What about my personal favorite, F. Scott Fitzgerald?
Well, I didn't happen to bump into him specifically, but I did learn about a group of authors known as the Lost Generation, and they were unlike any author that came before them. The authors wrote about untraditional topics such as marriage, patriotism, prohibition, and modernist causes. One well-known name was H.L. Mencken, the bad boy in Baltimore. That was just one in the huge sea of names of modern authors.
Some of the best authors include Theodore Dreiser, Ernest Hemingway, Gertrude Stein, Ezra Pound, T.S. Eliot, Sinclair Lewis, and E.E. Cummings. All of these authors discussed the various troubles of social life in the 1920s. In fact, during my vacation, I purchased a book from a bookstore. Have you ever heard of The Great Gatsby? It was a famous novel that dethroned the theory of a self-made man in American society.
Of course I read The Great Gatsby. No, I'm kidding. I only watched the movie. But it was still a great plot. Okay, folks, we have one last segment about jazz music and performers. We're calling Miss Louie Hollis back to talk more about this topic.
Hey, hi everybody. I'm here in a club in Harlem. Sadly, this is the end of my trip, but I'm just here to enjoy myself and have a good time.
Aw, well, once you get to the 20s, you never want to leave.
You got that right. What happens in the 20s stays in the 20s.
Yep. Anyhow, Miss Louie Hollis, tell us more about this club. How's the music?
This club is a swingin'. Unlike clubs today where they have DJs, this one has live entertainment. The type of music they're playing right now is jazz. It's the new fad nowadays.
Wow, that sounds so cool. Wish I could be there right now. Hey, did the solo performance happen yet?
Nope, not yet, but I'm on my toes. Some might argue that the solo is the best part about jazz. Since it's improvised and completely natural, the musician's talent is really shown through the performance.
Wow, it's so cool that they can improvise like that and still make amazing music. True talent. So, now that you're nearing the end of your trip, what would you say was the highlight?
Well, to be completely honest, I loved the entire trip. The events were educational and entertaining. But if I had to choose, I'd say watching the Wright brothers flying their plane in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina.
Ah yes, many customers tell us that watching the Wright brothers fly for the first time was the highlight of their trip too. Can you tell us what was so special about it for you?
It was a historical and life-changing moment. It's one thing to fly a plane during the 21st century, but it's another thing to go back in time and actually get to see the very first plane. You never understand the true significance of the plane in this day and age until you go back in time and witness a society that doesn't depend on it.
I'm so glad you had a great time. Thanks for talking to us, Miss Louie Hollis. We'll leave you now. Have a great night and a safe journey back home. As you can see, folks, The Jazz Age was a period of great liveliness and creativity in American history. So what are you waiting for? Pick up the phone right now and call us to get a chance to take a trip back in time to the 20s and Back to the Past 3000. Well, that's it, folks. Thanks for watching our infomercial and joining us today to learn about a trip of a lifetime, a vacation to the Roaring 20s.
Are you interested in this opportunity? Call 1-800-1920 to schedule your vacation back in time to the Jazz Age. Let's talk money. Here are some of the basic costs you'll run into during your time in the 1920s. Gas costs 21 cents per gallon. The Model T costs $265 to buy. For a hotel room, it costs about $8 a night, so $64 for your entire trip. A meal costs approximately 50 cents per meal, so $12 for your entire trip. A taxi costs 50 cents per mile. After Prohibition, drinks cost 25 cents, along with movies. For a radio, you can spend $75 on a basic model or $495 for a custom-built model. We are not responsible for the following: property damage, death, violence, outbreak of war, illness, injury, and major disruptions to the course of history. If any of these are to occur, the Back to the Past Company is not financially or legally obligated to compensate. You may be wondering, what's included in this special vacation package? Well, you will have the chance to experience 24 engaging, unique, and life-changing events. You'll have the opportunity to spend 8 days in one of the most exciting time periods of American history, the Jazz Age, and it's all for the low cost of $10,000 per person. But wait, there's more. Call now and receive a limited time offer. Buy one package, get another half off. Get 2 packages for the total cost of $15,000 if you call now. Call 1-800-1920 to redeem this special one-time offer. Remember to call 1-800-1920 to book your vacation back to the 1920s via the Back to the Past 3000.